There's a very old idea that you see replicated in mythological stories and fairy tales and so forth very frequently, that when the king dies, let's say, that chaos breaks out everywhere. It's like the rise of a hydra, right? Serpent with a multitude of heads. And something like that seems to be occurring in the West that's accelerated since about 2012. Maybe it's a consequence of the insistence that the patriarchal order should dissolve, right? That's like a variant of the idea that God is dead, the central patriarchal or paternal authority disappears, and the delusional presumption is that the consequence of that dissolution will be the flowering of a kind of untrammeled freedom. But the reality is the dissolution into something like a warring oligarchy where there's multiple sources of power, and they're all, what would you say? They're all vying in their particular way for supremacy. And there's a totalitarian spirit that emerges out of that that's very much antithetical to anything approximating freedom.
Well, what I saw was a push to say that the Western world is shit, and everything we've done is garbage, and that there really are no rights, and that all these other people are being oppressed. And I went like, I don't see that.
Yeah.
But what that really was an attack by bad faith actors. So when you see this kind of coming together, and I go, how is it going to work its way out? Because it seems like pretty obvious to me these are bad faith actors, because Western civilization has created wonderful things, and
especially comparatively speaking.
Yeah, I mean, what is the
what's the actual alternative?
Yeah, what is it? And
it's not hippies traipsing through the woods and engaging in free love. It's not that. It's dynasty and oligarchy and authoritarianism and terror.
And in the guise of this utopia, I mean, it's going to be a wonderful thing. What you have now is garbage. This you don't really have freedom. You have your freedom. You don't even know that you're oppressing these other people. That was the one that got me. You are in a system of oppression, and you're an unknowing participant oppressing these other people.
Yeah. And you can thank the universities for that realization, definitely. Yeah.
And so from that, I think it became an easy kind of pincer move when the pandemic came in to just kind of continue closing the door quicker. So with our rights being taken away, and the Constitution and the Founding Fathers had a plague at the time of the revolution, but they didn't stop. They didn't stop trying to get rid of the Brits at the time. So let's call a timeout here on the revolution because we're having a smallpox epidemic. So we're going to ask for a cessation of hostilities. No. So as a matter of fact, the Constitution was built for problems.
Right.
In the worst of times. There was nothing in it to suspend it. So, but it can be done.
And quite quickly.
And it will. And
most people will go along with it.
And most people go along with it.
At least under some circumstances, yeah.
Yeah, and what is the percentage of those people, and who are those people? You kind of saw it. There seems to be a third of these, and the Stanley Milgram study kind of points out that there are people, and you would hope that you wouldn't be one of them, who would just keep, the experiment. There's a guy in the other room, you know the experiment for some of your listeners who don't. Stanley Milgram would have somebody, an authority figure in a white coat, and he'd be asking him to push a button, and there'd be somebody in another room screaming through a glass. And so keep pushing it.
Turn it up
to the point, and even to the point of death. They would. There was an astounding 65% of the people went along with it. Now that study had some particular problems, but the majority of it, I think, still holds. That people will go along if the authorities tell them to do something. And I think, if anything, the pandemic proved that, again, that how well would you behave in this situation? And you saw people that behaved well and people that didn't. People that were going to be, who finally in a position to be bullies, finally in a position to crush other people, and did. I remember in Australia seeing somebody getting tackled and thrown to the ground by this brute just for the offense of not having a mask. I mean, maybe he could be asked to leave if that's the law of the land. Maybe he can be asked to go outside, or maybe he can be provided with a mask in that particular environment. However, for him to be tackled, thrown onto the ground, and given a concussion seems to be
a bit of an overreaction, you might
Yeah.
say.